I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love. Maybe I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby. I look around and since it is cold and empty, no one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep right until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm running out of time, 'cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road and overdrive, baby. Hit the road and overdrive. This city's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm coming back to let you know I can never say it on the phone. But whenever let me go this time, I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. Feel free to be whoever you wanna be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's
Going on, everybody? Two Tone Talk Podcast is live. Episode 82. And where I live, it is dark, it is gloomy, it is rainy outside on this Monday, and that's fitting. That's appropriate because football season is over. No football until August. No games, anyway. And that's always tough. If you're like me, at least the first couple months are not so bad after football ends, because you've got free agency and trades opening up next month. You've got the lead up to the draft the next month. But for me, summertime is when it really starts to lag. May through July. You also, I mean, in other sports, you've got March Madness in there. You've got things like that. But summer in particular, once you get to summer, it's like, man, oh, be a long few months. But Season is over, and guess who won it all, everybody? The Kansas City Chiefs win another one. They win their third Super Bowl of the last 5 years. Good Lord, they're second in a row. And the Chiefs beat the 49ers in what turned out to be a great Super Bowl. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like either one of these teams, but, went to overtime. Chiefs pull it out 25-22 in overtime. I thought this was a game that felt uneventful through the first half, but really in that fourth quarter it picked up and turned into a really memorable, great Super Bowl. I thought that for the San Francisco side of things, I thought Brock Purdy played very well. I thought Christian McCaffrey played very well. I thought Jawan Jennings played very well. I thought that Bosa played very well. George Kittle definitely just disappeared. Deebo Samuel hurt again, which was the story of his season. But the 49ers played very well. Good enough to win, maybe. But not against the Chiefs. Because let me tell you something, guys. Whether you like it or not, going into next year, the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't care what anybody says, the Kansas City Chiefs are the team to beat. I don't care who else comes along. I don't care who starts off 7-0 and everybody's going crazy about them. I don't care who looks good, who's winning all their games by multiple scores. I don't care. The Chiefs will be the team to beat in my mind. And I'm not talking about they'll lose some games in the regular season. Sure. Chiefs will drop 4 to 6 games probably in the regular season. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about beating the Chiefs in January or February. That's what I'm talking about. They're the team to beat. I don't care what your record is when the season ends. I don't care what seed you are. Until you beat the Chiefs, I don't want to hear it. Because they have a dynasty now. And furthermore, they have, for the second year in a row, in my opinion, a very mid group of wide receivers. They have an aging Travis Kelce. They have, Pacheco at running backs, all right. They have, a defense that is much better than they've been. But number 15 is the straw that stirs the drink with Andy Reid, too. I'm going to give Andy Reid his credit, too. Andy Reid is a phenomenal coach. And I would argue Andy Reid, to me, is more of a help to Patrick Mahomes than Bill Belichick ever was to Tom Brady. And I'm not taking anything away from Mahomes. But I believe Andy Reid is a much bigger part of what the Chiefs are doing now than Bill Belichick was with what the Patriots were doing during their heyday. Either way, the Chiefs are the champions of the world again, and it's baffling. It's baffling. I remember on Christmas Day, the Raiders throttled the Chiefs. On Christmas Day at Arrowhead, and everybody at that point just completely wrote the Chiefs off. The Chiefs are done. The Chiefs, they just ain't got what it takes. Mahomes has lost his touch. Kelsey's getting old. Done. Then they go to the playoffs. They play Miami. Miami's favored to win. They beat Miami. Not even close. They go to Buffalo. Buffalo's favored to win. They beat Buffalo. They go to Baltimore. Baltimore's favored to win. They beat Baltimore. They go to the Super Bowl. They play San Francisco. San Francisco's favored to win. They beat San Francisco. I don't care what happens in the regular season. As long as they get into the playoffs, they will be the team to beat. And the thing that sucks is that for all we know, they're probably going to get better this offseason. I mean, this wide receiving group, I mean, can you imagine if they either in free agency or the draft or wherever, if they hit on a stud wide receiver? Because they don't have one right now. God help us. Offensive line could get better. They could be even better next year. So that, to me, is the storyline already of next season. Who's going to stop the Chiefs? Because I don't know if you heard last night after the game ended, Patrick Mahomes was interviewed, right after the game ended. They walk up and put the mic in his face. This dude's already talking about next year. He's after the Super Bowl, he's acting like it's a win in week 5 over the Jets. He's like, well, we're going to celebrate this tonight and then we're going to get back to work for next year. Kelsey's at the press conference in between giving Andy Reid a stone cold stunner or whatever he did on the sideline and running after Taylor Swift. He's talking about, we want a three-peat. It's always been the goal. We want a three-peat. We want to win 3 in a row. They're already calling their shot for next year. They plan on being right back in the same place at the same time next year, holding up that stupid trophy again. And I just want to know who's going to stop them. Let's look at our guys, the Tennessee Titans, and you apply this logic to any team. What is any team in the AFC or otherwise, what do you got to do to beat these guys? Well, in order to beat Patrick Mahomes, hold on for dear life. Hope he messes up. Hope that you can get ahead by enough to where he can't come back in the fourth quarter. Because we've seen this from him time and time again. First quarter wasn't too good. Second quarter, sluggish. Third quarter, struggling to find his way. And then something just happens in the fourth quarter and or overtime. This guy just can't miss. Can't miss. So, if I'm any NFL organization, the Titans or otherwise, that's what's in the back of my mind with every move I make this offseason. Yes, we want to win our division. Yes, we want to win a bunch of games. And the Titans are not scheduled to play the Chiefs in the regular season, thank God. But either way, as you look ahead, what do we got to do to beat those guys in January? That's the question the Buffalo Bills need to be asking. That's the question that the Baltimore Ravens need to be asking. It's the question everybody needs to be asking. What do we have to do to beat them? Because the Chiefs didn't even have home field advantage in the playoffs this year. The only home game they had was the wild card round against Miami. They went on the road to Buffalo, they went on the road to Baltimore, and they went to the Super Bowl. And, everybody's goal is to win a Super Bowl, but I'm telling you, you're going to have to go through them. Everybody should view it that way. We're going to have to go through Kansas City. We're going to have to beat them. We're going to have to figure it out. We're going to have to figure out Mahomes. We're going to have to figure out Kelsey. We're going to have to figure out Andy Reid. We're going to have to figure out that defense. We're going to have to do it. And the 49ers got close. But when the Chiefs got the ball in overtime down by a field goal, was there any doubt in anybody's mind what was about to happen? Was there any doubt in anybody's mind what was about to happen when the Chiefs got the ball? They marched down that field with such ease that it was sickening against what is a pretty darn good defense in San Francisco. I'm telling you guys, I hoped that when the Tennessee Titans ended the Patriots dynasty in that playoff game, I hoped that we would never have to deal with this crap again, where the same team keeps on getting back to the Super Bowl every year, but here we are. We're right back where we started. Now it's the Chiefs. And, you know, it's it is frustrating, yes. It is frustrating to see the same team over and over again who just, some of us would give anything to see our team just win one. And then you get to see the same team who's already won two and now three just keep on going back. It is frustrating, but at the same time, you have to tip your cap. You have to tip your cap and say, you know what? Congrats. Congrats. You did it again. You took care of business again. And man, just sitting there last night watching this, I don't think there's anything the 49ers could have done. I thought the 49ers played well. But it's like I don't know what you're supposed to do. The debate is now raging on today about Patrick Mahomes. Is he the greatest of all time already? I am fully aware that when it is all said and done, he finally calls it quits someday. He may very well go. He may very well end up the greatest of all time. There is a legitimate chance that someday Patrick Mahomes could be viewed as the greatest ever. I'm not willing to go there yet. I think we would be doing an incredible disservice with disrespect to the great Tom Brady to just within a couple of years of him retiring to just already go jump on the bandwagon of there's a new GOAT. It's like, man, we just crowned a new GOAT. We're already like, listen, Patrick Mahomes is one of the best ever already. By the time it's over, he very well could be. As of right now, here today, let's hold our horses. I'm not saying he's not great. Obviously, he's unbelievable. He's the best in the game. But I'm going to give a little more credit and respect to Tom Brady than that. Because Patrick Mahomes has been to 4 Super Bowls. He's won 3 of them. The one that he lost, who was quarterbacking the other team? On a team that really, on paper, had a better offense than this year and last year for Kansas City because they still had Tyreek Hill. But Tom Brady and the Bucs beat the daylights out of them in the Super Bowl. I think that counts for something. Mahomes would have played in 5 Super Bowls, except for the fact that in an AFC championship game in, I believe, 2019, he was beaten by Tom Brady and the Patriots. So, before we're just quick to pivot to Patrick Mahomes and say, okay, you're now the greatest. Well, let's hold on a little bit. Let's hold on a little bit. People say, oh, well, Mahomes, he's doing it with a bunch of nobodies at wide receiver. Yeah, he is. He is. But are we really going to act like Tom Brady wasn't out there with Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, Kevin Hogan? I mean, these were the guys, with the exception of the year with Randy Moss where they didn't even win a Super Bowl. And you can say, well, but he had Rob Gronkowski. Okay, well, Patrick Mahomes has Travis Kelce. So I'm just saying, before we just crown Patrick Mahomes the greatest ever, let's give a little more respect to Tom Brady. I'm still saying Brady's the GOAT for right now. I'm still saying Brady's the greatest of all time for right now. And I understand Mahomes could surpass him eventually. But for right now, I'm sticking with Brady. Also, another thing I wanted to talk about There was an incident with Travis Kelce last night on the sideline with him and Andy Reid early on in the game where, Kelce got in Andy Reid's face and he had some things to say. I think that it is perfectly reasonable for a player to express their grievances to their coach. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with a player getting frustrated and voicing that frustration to their head coach. I don't have a problem with that. I think the only thing about it that I felt like was unacceptable was that from the looks of it, and maybe it was accidental, but it didn't look accidental. From the looks of it, it looked like he almost knocked Andy Reid down. Like, he got in his face so much that he, bumped him. And Andy Reid almost fell. And if he had, Travis Kelce would have looked even worse. That element of it I thought was unacceptable. It's one thing, I don't have a problem with you going over to your coach and expressing your frustration. I don't have a problem with that. You have every right to do that. You're a competitor. You're going out on the field. You're putting your body on the line. You have every right to go to your coach and yell and scream when you feel like something's not right. But he got a little too close for comfort, in my opinion, physically, to a man who's, I'm not saying Andy Reid's on a walking cane or unable to, but older man that you got so close you almost knocked him to the ground. That element of it to me is unacceptable. If you want to get verbal and yell about things, that's fine. But when you're getting so up in your head coach's face that he is now about to fall, that to me is unacceptable. I thought that was unacceptable. And I also was not satisfied with his joking about it after the game was over. When he said, "Oh, I was just telling coach I loved him," and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's not funny. I'm sorry, man. I'm not going to laugh off the fact that you almost knocked your head coach, who's an older man, the fact that you almost knocked him to the ground. And you know what? We all know Andy Reid is a fun, funny guy. He likes his cheeseburgers and all of this stuff. And I've said a lot about Mike Vrabel on this podcast. Can you imagine a player trying to pull that on Mike Vrabel? Can you imagine a player getting up in Mike Vrabel's face and trying to pull that crap? Getting so close to him. There's just a level of respect I think you got to have. Can you imagine somebody pulling that on Dan Campbell? Somebody would end up in a hospital, So I just think that was something, and listen, he may go on his podcast, and I don't think he meant to almost knock Andy Reid to the ground, but he almost did it. And the least he could do at this point is clarify and say, hey, I shouldn't have got that close. That's just my personal opinion. I thought getting so close to the point that you almost knocked this man to the ground, that was unacceptable. Other thoughts on the Super Bowl. Listen, like I said, I thought it was a great game. Tony Romo's a little much. I don't know how you guys feel about Romo in the announce booth. There are some times that I feel like Romo probably needs to be quiet and let the moment speak for itself, but he just keeps talking. After the Chiefs scored the game-winning touchdown, Jim Nantz gives this great call. Chiefs hit the jackpot. They win another Super Bowl. And then, that's the moment where you would just cut to the crowd, cut to Taylor Swift, cut to all the different people going nuts, cut to the people on the sideline going crazy. Everybody's having a good time. And just let that moment speak for itself. But instead, Romo's they've been working on this play all day, Jim. They're getting McCole Hardman out into the flats, and then they want it. And it's he's breaking down a play. It's dude, listen. Somebody just won the Super Bowl. Just let the moment speak for itself. Um, but Romo does well at his job. It's just sometimes I feel like he needs to stop talking and just let the moment breathe. Um, Jawan Jennings is an interesting name. I honestly thought if the 49ers if the 49ers had won, I'm sure Christian McCaffrey would have been the MVP. But then you could have made the case that Jawan Jennings should have been the MVP if San Francisco had won. I mean, this guy, yeah, touchdown reception, made big play after big play with Debo Samuel injured, with George Kittle not doing anything. Jawan Jennings really stepped up, and that's a name you could look out for Tennessee because I think he's scheduled to be a free agent. That could be an interesting, wide receiver to go after because he's kind of been wide receiver 3 there in San Francisco behind Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. But Debo Samuel's been injured a lot of the year, so a lot of times he's been like wide receiver 2. So that could be an interesting pickup for the Titans, maybe. I mean, some people are talking about the possibility of that. Obviously, he's a former Tennessee Volunteer. Most notable, he caught the Hail Mary against Georgia that time. And so maybe that would appease some of the Vol fans that feel spat upon by the Titans. But as the new, I consider today to be the start of a new season. Super Bowl was last night. That's the ending of one season, and now we begin the other. And there's a lot ahead for Tennessee. And as I was thinking last night, as I watched the Super Bowl, I thought, okay, where does Tennessee fit in to all this? Just watched Kansas City. We know why they keep winning. They have a freak at quarterback. They have an all-time great head coach. And even though he is getting older, they have a tight end in Travis Kelce who continues to deliver. And they have a good defense. I think that's something that can't be overlooked either. Just because we're getting away from Vrabel, don't forget about the fact that it is important to have a great defense. And that was as big a part of Kansas City winning in these playoffs as any. I mean, their defense has been well coached, and they have played really well in these playoffs especially. So just because we're all excited about Brian Callahan, we're excited about having an offensive coach, taking the team in a new direction, let's not forget that in some ways, yes, defense does still win championships. In some ways. Yes, offense is much more important than Vrabel made it out to be, but let's not lose sight of the fact that we can't just let our defense slack off just because we now have an offensive-minded head coach. We got to, that's what I was thinking about last night was defensively. What do we got to do to get better defensively, personnel-wise? Obviously, Denard Wilson coming in as the defensive coordinator. I think that's great. That's great. That's a great start. You've got some pieces in place. Big Jeff's going to be back. Harold Landry's going to be back. Roger McCreary in slot corner has done some good things. Amani Hooker's going to be back there at safety. You might bring back a guy like Sean Murphy-Bunting. I wish we could get back Danico Autry. I don't think we will. But I'm looking at this secondary. Man, we gotta figure out this secondary. We're hurting at corner. Inside linebacker is going to be a problem because Alshire and Gibbons are free agents, and I don't know if many people would want those guys to be back anyway. I feel the same way about Sean Murphy-Bunting. I mean, he played all right, but good enough to bring him back? I don't know. But in the middle of all of this talk, as the start of the offseason begins, Titans fans, we've already been talking about offensive tackles and wide receivers and tight ends and offensive line and Will Levis, and I get it, okay? The offense for Tennessee has been so bad, I don't blame you for looking at how we fix that, but don't lose sight of the fact that defensively there are issues too, personnel-wise, that need to be addressed. Okay? Don't forget how bad this secondary looked for much of the year. And as I watch these Chiefs, man, if you're going to beat them in the playoffs, you better have a good defense. You better have a good secondary. You better have some guys that can get after the quarterback. And with losing Danico Autry, We're going to have Arden Key back, and that's good. Arden Key, Harold Landry, Jeff Simmons, but there's a lot that needs to happen, defensively. And that's what, when people are discussing bringing back Derrick Henry and all this stuff, it's like, man, everybody's talking about offense. Everybody's talking about the offense, how to fix the offense, and I get it. The offense has been abysmal, but forget about defense. We need corners. We need a safety. Kevin Byard's gone. We need inside linebackers. Can always use more pass rush. I mean, there's a lot that needs to happen. There's money to be spent. There's draft picks. Evan in the chat's bringing up possibility of bringing back Deontay Foreman. I wouldn't hate that. Wouldn't hate that at all. Kind of pair him with Spears. I wouldn't hate it. I think he's been very productive in his time since he left Tennessee. And he was obviously very productive when he was with Tennessee. But a new season has begun. And we are full speed ahead now. Looking at free agency and all of that beginning next month. I believe March 13th. And the draft is obviously going to become more and more of a topic of discussion. Very exciting with the Titans having a top 10 pick. Joe Alt, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers. I mean, the names are being thrown around. And it's going to be an exciting couple of months as we go toward free agency, trades, the draft. And as I said, what's going through my mind as we approach all of those different things is, what do we got to do to beat Kansas City in the playoffs? What do we got to do? What do we got to do to be able to accomplish what Baltimore couldn't at home, what Buffalo couldn't at home, what San Francisco couldn't, even though they felt like they had the game in their grasp many times? What do we got to do to beat them in January and in February? I continue to be excited about Brian Callahan. I continue to be excited about the staff that he's building. I continue to be excited about Miss Amy Adams Strunk's clear vision that what we were doing wasn't working, and that if we're going to be competitive, we've got to change things. I'm all for that. I'm excited about that. It's refreshing to see. But unfortunately, the team to beat is in our conference, and we don't play them in a regular season. Like I said, they're not a Titans opponent in the regular season this year, but this is the team you got to look out for, first and foremost. And that's in the back of my mind. If I'm Brian Callahan, if I'm Rand Carthon, that's in the back of my mind the entire time. And most importantly, where I want to leave it today, if you really want to compete with the Chiefs, you got to have some strong quarterback play. I thought Brock Purdy played well last night, but there's nobody even in Mahomes' stratosphere right now. When it comes to clutch, making it happen, I'm not saying there's not other talented guys. There are. Lamar Jackson's talented. Josh Allen's talented. Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Jordan Love. We talk about all of these guys and how well they play, but let me tell you something. There's nobody touching Mahomes. Not Burrow, not nobody. I hope Will Levis can figure it out. I really do. I hope Will Levis can build on the good things he did, and I hope Will Levis can be the answer for Tennessee that we all hope he can be. Because more than anything, if you're going to compete with the likes of Kansas City come January, February, you better have a quarterback who can make plays. I'm talking about all the way down the field. I'm talking about against the blitz. I'm talking about man-to-man zone, whatever. You need somebody who is not going to flinch, who is going to be able to go to Kansas City, or even if Kansas City's coming to you. Kansas City's aura has reached the level that, people are going to be riled up to play them in the playoffs like they were against the Patriots, like in the 90s they were for the Cowboys. People are going to get amped up to play them. College football has had Alabama. The NBA had Golden State or whatever team LeBron was on prior to that. The NFL now has Kansas City. And I just hope Will Levis can figure it out. I hope Will Levis can be what we all hope he can be, and I hope the Titans can make some moves this offseason to drastically improve this team on both sides of the ball. Real quickly before I go, how do you guys feel about the halftime show? Ursher. I thought it was good. I thought Usher did a good job. Thought it was enjoyable. I thought that halftime show was clearly catered toward people my age. I'm 30. And so I grew up listening to Usher. Usher was huge in the 2000s and into the 2010s. So, I mean, that was my childhood into middle school, into high school. And I felt like Rihanna last year was the same thing. But you gotta feel like next year they're going to be going after Taylor Swift to get that halftime show. Bruce, who is a Colts fan, but we let him hang out. We let him hang out around here. He said AFC South versus AFC East, and we each play one team from the NFC East and one team from the AFC West. Colts are playing the Broncos. Who does Tennessee play? I know we're not playing the Chiefs. I just looked last night. Let's see here. Just before I go. Titans 2024. Patriots, Jets, Packers, Vikings, Jags, Bills, Dolphins, Lions, Bears, Chargers. There you go. That's who we're playing. The Harbaughs. And that's another thing that's going to be interesting for Kansas City is Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's in their division now. Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert. Can anybody in that division even test Kansas City? I don't see the Raiders doing it anytime soon. I don't see the Broncos doing it anytime soon. So maybe Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert and the Chargers, maybe they're the beacon of hope in that division. I'm going to be back Friday. I'm going to preview free agency. I'm going to preview maybe a little bit of the draft for Tennessee. And then I'm going to take a little bit, maybe a couple of weeks off, because doing this podcast during the season, I mean, it's pretty hectic. So I'm going to do an episode Friday, then I'm going to take a little bit off and then come back ready for free agency. But I will be here Friday. And I appreciate everybody who has been with me this season. Podcast grew significantly this season, so I appreciate everybody. This is the Two Tone by God pod. Staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. God bless you, everybody. Tighten up. Bye.
Feel free to be whoever you want to be. Feel free to dance. Feel free to sing. Just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me.